Hey guys, it's Steph. Welcome to the Cryostat tutorial for the muscle biology lab. Once you get to the cryostat in aisles, you first want to set up by adjusting the temperature. So the ideal range is between negative 20 degrees Celsius and negative 23 degrees Celsius. And at the same time, make sure that your samples have been put into the cryostat so that they adjust to the temperature. Next, you're going to need to put a blade into the cryostat so that you can slice the tissue. So you'll put it right underneath that little metal plate, and there's a section for it. And once you place the blade in correctly, you can pull that little lever away from you, and then that will secure the blade. Next is the tissue prep step. So this is OCT, or optimal cutting temperature solution. It's a clear solution, and then once you put a little dollop of it on that little circle, you'll be able to adhere the tissue in the middle of the circle of the OCT. You'll know when it's ready when the OCT turns white, because that's when it's solid and completely hardened. So this is just an example of what the tissue will look like once you take it out of the little tube, and you'll place it right in the middle of the circle that you made with the OCT. And make sure it's secure, but also as flat as possible. So here again, this is what it should look like when it's all ready. You'll put it in the slot like so, and just make sure that the screw is all the way out so that it can fit in properly. Once you put the sample into that slot, you can secure it with the screw. Next is the tissue sectioning step. So that's the lever on the side, and you're always going to crank that in a clockwise direction, so away from you. And as you can see here, you want to make it so that the tissue is lined up pretty close to the blade, but not yet touching the blade, so that you don't accidentally cut off a huge chunk of the tissue. So those little controls on the left are buttons to push the sample closer to you or away from the blade. And right now it's set at 20 microns, just as you set up, because that's a thick enough width. And you want to keep cranking it until you start to see a little bit of the white OCT come off. And this sometimes takes a little bit, and takes a little bit of adjustment. So as you can see, a little bit of the white OCT starting to come off now. You just have to be a little more careful and make sure that you don't slice off too much tissue. You just want to make sure that you get it nice and even before you go down to 6 microns, which is the width that you want to make the cross sections at. It's starting to even out a little bit more, and you're starting to get more full sections. So once you do, you can brush them away with the paintbrush so that the area stays nice and clean, and you can even brush a little bit off of the sample itself without touching the middle of it. Now you can adjust it to 6 microns, which is the ideal width of the cross sections, and just crank the little thing around a few times until the samples come off clean again. So once you adjusted to 6 microns, you can actually start to section. And the way I like to do that is by guiding the little tissue off with the paintbrush really slowly and carefully, so that you don't create any holes or any tears in the tissue. And then you'll carefully lift the tissue off the blade with the paintbrush. You can use one or you can use two. both hands to do this. And you're going to want to flip it over so that once you adhere it onto the glass slide, it doesn't start to roll up. Just make sure it's nice and flat by the time that you adhere it onto the slide. So I'm just pushing it down a little bit. And once you are satisfied with the way that it looks, you can carefully in one motion apply the glass slide onto the tissue, and it will dry, and then lift it up carefully, and then you're all done. Just make sure that when you're done, you clean up and you discard the blade, but don't cut your fingers off. And yeah, so that's it. Thank you. Bye.